I thank you in joining us this evening and welcoming the North American tour of the nuns of Khachoe Ghakyil Nunnery.
It's Khachoe Ghakyil Ling, which means the pure land of Vajrayogini, pure land of bliss.
By inviting the nuns to create a sand mandala and perform sacred dances at Holiness College, we have broken historic ground. Sand mandalas and sacred dance performances have never before been created by Tibetan nuns in the Americas. It has been an honor to have witnessed the spiritual practice of the nuns this week as they created the mandala. Their story and their spirit of resilience is inspiring. It reminds us of the strength and spirit of women the world over. Women the world over who are transforming their communities, transforming our world into one of greater compassion and tranquility, in a world of which is capable of understanding the contribution of ancient wisdom and practice.
So I'm here with the group of 10 nuns from the nunnery. It's located just outside Katmandu, near Badnath, which is one of the main pilgrimage sites for Tibetan Buddhists. The main reason why we came out here is to actually raise funds for the nunnery.
No. You should be over here. They have to get the headset here. Not everyone is getting headset. Only
there is a constant struggle to get enough funds to look after everybody. So Lama Zopa actually suggested I should come and help Simla with a tour.
So the goal of the tour is first and foremost to bring forth the education and the awareness with regards to Tibet.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to an evening of sacred performance by the nuns of Khachoe Ghakyil Nunnery in Katmandu, Nepal.
The political situation of Tibet, past history, present situation.
Who's doing the
And of course for the monastery itself, it's very much a fundraising tour because in the refugee communities, both in India and Nepal, resources are very, very limited, and even more limited for the nuns. For the nuns who come on these tours, this is something very, very new. And so for them, it's a very personal experience of learning a dimension of life that they would not be otherwise exposed to. So in that way, it's very, very educational for them.
At the Gaia blessing ceremony,
a few people gave speeches and talks, and I was very impressed how people spoke so well, so easily in public. And then I found the shops very interesting. What I wouldn't see back home, and what surprised me here are the, how everything is very, very clean, maintained very clean, and these electrical doors that open naturally. The best experience has been seeing how clean the West is, the cleanliness of the West. That has been the best experience, and also people's interest in the nuns, in the spiritual path, and having a genuine sense to help is what has been the best experience. The prayers that we did at the Gaia blessing ceremony was because there was a new project being initiated. We did a purifying prayer and blessing to purify all negative energy and all obstacles and hindrances that existed in that particular environment. We did the prayers, traditional prayers that would purify those kind of things, and also made prayers for the success of the project.
The nunnery is growing so wildly beyond any expectation. When I first came to Nepal, there were 40 nuns. Now there's 200. The original monastery is actually Kopan Monastery, which is very close by. This is the main monastery of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. So when Lama Yeshe initially established Kopan together with Lama Zopa, the nuns were living together with the monks and going to classes together, everything together. And then after Lama Yeshe passed away, Lama Zopa expressed the wish that a nunnery should be built specifically for those nuns. Lama Yeshe made a point that the nuns should be educated exactly in the same way as the monks, because I think he just saw a potential, of the nuns, their spiritual potential, their intellectual potential, which hasn't been challenged before. So land was bought very close by, and Lama Zopa gave the job of starting a nunnery to Zenla.
To build a monastery, it took fundraising from 1986 to about 1990. I've noticed that it's far harder fundraising for nunneries than it is for monasteries, for monks. Things are a little harder for nuns, but that in itself, in some way, has its blessings, because, the more you work at it, or the more you strive for whatever it is as a nun, the greater are the blessings and the appreciations of what comes of it.
Lama Yeshe and Lama Zopa's wish were that everything is completely free in both the monastery and the nunnery. So whoever comes, gets completely taken care of. Basically, the nunnery has to take care of everything, like food, to a certain degree, clothing, that depends on how much funds are there. But all the medical expenses, the accommodation, whatever it takes to run a place where 200 people live. The Tibetans in particular, they come with very little. They just carry what they can. There's nothing spare. In that respect, the life of the people there is very hard, and for them to be able to go to the nunnery is like, wow, what an opportunity. That's the only opportunity they will have to actually learn something. They get a very thorough education. They study the complete Buddhist teachings, philosophy, the traditional arts, the chanting, but they also study modern subjects. They study English, then they also have some basic math, science, geography, to give them a little bit of grounded education.
The long horns are used for ceremonial occasions, such as when we welcome important teachers into a monastery, we use the long horns, and for ceremonial dances. And because it is specifically, has the connotation of being the sound of Dharma, or the teachings, the sound is also dedicated as a way of imprinting life forms other than human life forms to be able to bear that imprint of that sound and have that meaning too in their life.
They do prayers together in the morning from about 6 to, I think, about 8 o'clock. Then they do memorizing, which is their way of learning. Then they have class till 11:30, and then they have lunch, and then there is rest time till 2. In the afternoon again they have classes till 4. They do memorizing again from 4 till 6:30. They have dinner. Then the smaller ones again do memorizing, and the older ones, they do their own practice, or they do prayers, or they do study. So they finish their day around 11 at night. Yeah, so it's a long day. And then, of course, I forgot the debate. They do debate every day, the older ones.
The idea of debating is the objective of debating is that, through this means of learning, that one is able to benefit oneself and others on the spiritual path to enlightenment. That's the main objective of the debating. And when we do debate, we take a subject that we have studied and then analyze it through a series of questioning to make sure that we have a very clean, clear-cut correct understanding that cannot be faulted. I thought the CD was an excellent idea because, for one thing, it is a very beneficial project, and also many people get to hear, come in contact with the Dharma, not through a formal teaching, but maybe through hearing a chanting like that, buying a CD. So when I think of it in that way, I think it's a very beneficial thing that we did. I feel that through the making of the CD, that many more people will come to hear the chanting of the prayers and come to know about Tibet, the culture of Tibet. And in this way, although in the course of our tour we will meet a few people, the CD will be a way for in long-term perspective that it will be of great benefit for others as well. I just hope that everyone has a very good time, that they see our performance, that they hear, that they hear our prayers and feel some connection to the spiritual path. But most important is that they all have a good time.
Please feel free to look over all the items we have for sale in the lobby. That's what my script says.
Generally, there's nothing strange about people coming and looking at the stuff that we have for sale and purchasing. But what I do appreciate is people taking such a personal interest in our life, wanting to know about us personally, particularly asking questions about Tibet and how we came to be here, the life of feeling. So in that way, I feel very fortunate that I have this opportunity. And people are always asking, how can they support the nuns, or how can they support the cause of Tibet. Usually I ask them to support the various organizations like Students for Free Tibet and various Tibetan support groups that are there locally. It is traditional for all monasteries to have someone leading the chant, and so that is basically what is meant as a lead chanter, that you lead everyone to a chant. And why do we chant our prayers loudly? It's so that life forms other than human beings also get to hear the sound of the prayers and the chanting and are blessed by it. I was amongst the first group of nuns that studied the sand mandala making, and also because of having gone to France before, I was chosen as one of the persons to accompany this tour. At the monastery, most of the other people know what the mandala is about, and so there is an already understood situation. People already have a knowledge of the mandala already there. Making mandalas in the West, because it brings so many people to view it, because it is something new that they're seeing it for the first time. So in that context, because people are encountering such a sacred artwork for the first time, I feel it has a lot of benefits, a lot of merit, a lot of benefit in doing such sand mandalas in the West, as opposed to back in the monastery where people already have that foreknowledge.
On behalf of the nuns of Khachoe Ghakyil Ling, the nunnery from Nepal, I would like to welcome you all and thank you for being here at this event. And just in case you're here for the first time, I would like to let you know that this is the mandala of universal compassion. There are many, many different types of mandalas, and the special blessings invoked here is the blessing of all enlightened compassion. So the nuns are going to begin with some prayers, calling upon the blessings of one's spiritual teachers, and then they will do the dismantling of it and complete it off with the prayers of auspiciousness, dedicating all the positive energy generated for many auspicious things to happen in the lives of all life forms, of all sentient beings. This is the first generation of Tibetan Buddhist nuns learning this particular form of art. Of course, this art existed, but it was something that the monks usually did in the past. Because it is such a sacred artwork, as Buddhists, we believe that being able to view this artwork generates much blessing in our mind stream, purifying our anger and hatred, our jealousy, our obsessive thoughts of attachment, ignorance, and so forth, and implants much positive potentials for our enlightened consciousness to be developed. So the reason why such forms of artwork are now brought into such a hallway in California is because, for the sake of cultural preservation and so forth, we bring this kind of artwork into the West because much of Tibet's art culture survives outside of Tibet proper, in the refugee communities in India and Nepal, and through such outreach programs into the Western world. But for the Buddhist nuns, it is still within the context of a spiritual practice, and the people in the West gets to view it as an exotic form of art. After completing the dismantling, we will try to put a pinch of the sand grains into these little envelopes so that people can take it home as memory of the occasion, or on the other hand, it is a very, very sacred, precious thing to have in your own home as a blessed. Everything that we keep in our home generates some kind of energy, positive or negative, and this is guaranteed positive energy.
I think the monastery will benefit from the tour as a fundraising project, and for the Western people, I think it will be a very educational experience in which they will be able to see Buddhist nuns and see what life as a Buddhist nun is like for people in that kind of life structure. In that way, it will be educational in a spiritual sense. The presence of ordained monastics, whether it is monks or nuns touring America, it's been very, very helpful in reaching the grassroots of the community, cultivating awareness, because you've put a name and a face to the whole situation. So in that way, that's the greatest benefit. The reason why I feel that my life as a nun has no difficulty is because, when I study, of course there is no limit to what I need to learn, but there is no difficulty in learning whatever is there for me to study, and I feel that any other way of life, for example, getting married, having children, there's so much individual responsibility for oneself and the family, and so when I compare that to my life as a nun, I can go whenever I want. I can, if I want to help any other people, I can be there without any sense of obligation to immediate responsibilities for myself or my children or for husband, like that. So in these ways, I feel it's a much more free life. It depends what is important to you in your life, what is your interest and what you feel are important in your life, and that makes the difference. When the nuns go home, they will be sharing these stories to the other nuns, to the other monks, to the family and friends for many days and hours. They will probably take a month-long break. Traditional nun? No. No, I don't think so. I'm too radical.
I turned into a rebel adult.
Whether you like it or not, it's going to be positive, so.
Anyway,